limited playing. They was talking about this. I forgot who, maybe Nick Wright, but he said Caitlin Clark is like the biggest superstar under the age of 35, like especially in the basketball world. And I was just like, that's kind of crazy. But
he said all athletes, right?
He said basketball, basically.
Oh,
he was saying Americans under 35 as well.
American hoopers under 35?
Them are tough.
I don't know, bro. I think so.
Yeah, she might be the biggest. I don't know if she's more famous. Is she more famous than Jayson Tatum?
Yeah. Teague sparked a real debate when he compared Caitlin Clark's fame to Jayson Tatum and Anthony Edwards and suggested she might actually be more famous right now. Not better at basketball, more famous. And that's where NBA fans got uncomfortable. On resume alone, Tatum and Edwards are established NBA superstars. But fame is about visibility, and Clark's rise has been explosive. From record-breaking college viewership at the University of Iowa to becoming the face of the Indiana Fever overnight, her name has been everywhere. Sports media, mainstream news, social feeds. Teague's point wasn't about rings or stats. It was about cultural reach. And right now, you could argue more casual fans recognize Clark's name. That's why the debate hit. It forces people to separate basketball success from overall fame. And those aren't always the same thing.
I'm more famous than
I think if people would have called and told them that Jayson Tatum was at the Pike High School game, I think people would have pulled up. People called and said Caitlin Clark is at Pike High School, and niggas was like, oh, okay.
It was regular season.
Yeah.
I just feel like respect to her. Like she in her sport, she's so massive in her sport. I can see that, but I don't see her being bigger than these NBA players, bro.
Yeah,
I don't think she's bigger than Ant.
She famous as hell, though.
She's famous as shit.
She's super famous.
Jeff Teague, former 11-year NBA point guard and someone who's been inside the league long enough to understand what real star power looks like, was on a podcast when Caitlin Clark's level of celebrity came up. What followed wasn't a polished, media-trained answer. It was one of those raw basketball conversations where guys say what they actually think. The premise on the table was bold. That Clark might be the biggest basketball superstar under 35 in the United States right now. Not just in the WNBA. Not just in women's basketball. In basketball. Period. That's a massive statement. Especially when names like Jayson Tatum and Anthony Edwards exist in that same age range. The initial reaction around the table was predictable skepticism. These are NBA guys. They grew up in a culture where the league sets the visibility standard. But as the conversation unfolded, it became less dismissive and more analytical. They started separating best player from most famous. They started talking about name recognition beyond hardcore fans. They started acknowledging how often Clark's name shows up in mainstream spaces. And that's where it got uncomfortable. Because once you frame it around cultural visibility instead of championships or all-NBA selections, the answer isn't as simple. Clark's run at the University of Iowa broke viewership records. Her transition to the Indiana Fever became a national storyline. Her highlights crossed into audiences that don't typically follow basketball. That level of crossover matters in a fame conversation. What made the discussion compelling wasn't that everyone instantly agreed. It's that they kept circling back to the same uneasy realization. You might not like the framing, but you can't easily dismiss it either. And that tension is exactly why the debate keeps going.
Crazy, like after Bron leaves, who's gonna be the next real star?
That nigga don't know. Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I'm nothing.
He bigger than Caitlin Clark, you think?
Yeah, what?
What? Fuck yeah.
Caitlin Clark is big in the States. Wemby big everywhere.
In national?
Yeah.
Like, he's an international super.
The first counter that came up was Victor Wembanyama, and that's a fair reflex. He's a 7'3" generational talent with a skill package the league has never really seen before. Defensive range, perimeter fluidity, offensive creativity. He feels like a creative player built in real life. If you're talking about basketball stardom in general, his name belongs in almost every conversation. But here's where the nuance matters. Wembanyama is French. He's an international superstar. His fame stretches across Europe and the global basketball landscape in a way most American-born players don't replicate worldwide. When the discussion narrowed specifically to American basketball stars under 35, he technically exits the frame. Not because he isn't famous, he absolutely is, but because the category being debated was American players. Once that clarification happened, the table hit a wall. If Wembanyama is out by definition, then who, among American basketball players under 35, is clearly more famous than Caitlin Clark? Jayson Tatum? Anthony Edwards? Others? The answers weren't automatic. There wasn't a clean, confident rebuttal. And that hesitation is the real headline. Not that Clark definitively wins the debate, but that a room full of basketball lifers couldn't immediately name someone who obviously clears her in terms of fame. The pause, the thinking, the uncomfortable recalculating. That's the story.